Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I know it's been a little bit, it's been a while since I put out a video, and I have a couple videos in mind. I just haven't put them together yet. But as you can see, today I'm going to talk about the 5 top breastfeeding tips that I have to give you. Now, there are a lot more than this. I mean, there are many things that I could say, and I have many other videos out that you can look at and that you'll be able to see that there's one that I have, what to expect for the first few weeks breastfeeding, and that one I really touch on a lot of different things that you should expect and the tips that you can have in mind. Today I wanted to just give 5, and I may do like a series of this, but I think sometimes the less, like if you can group things into just 5, 3, 4, 5, areas, it's less intimidating. It's a little easier to remember than to have like 20 different things that you need to remember. So I'm hoping that I can kind of sum up everything into just these 5 things. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to comment below. Also, you can check out my other videos. In fact, I recommend you to check out my other videos. And also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It should be somewhere on the screen. And that it doesn't cost anything, but it just lets you know when I upload. So I would be on your newsfeed. And anytime I upload a video, you should see it when you open YouTube. Now, if you hit the little notification bell next to the subscribe button, that will notify you when I put out a video. So you would actually get an email or a notification on your computer that I've put out an email, or your phone, whichever you're watching YouTube on. So it just depends on how you have it set up. If you have it set up that you don't get notifications from YouTube, say on your phone, then you won't get the notifications that way. You would get them through email. But I think you can set that up on your phone, and then on your computer, like I said, if it's like connected to your phone or YouTube is able to send you notifications on your computer, then it would work. Anyway, long rant, but that is basically just something for you to know if this is the first time you're watching. I definitely recommend to go and look at my other videos because I have so much out there that talk about so many different things. So let's get started about talking about these 5 breastfeeding tips. I want to start with the number 1, which is to start early and to think frequency, not quantity. So when your baby arrives, that first 3 days, you want to be breastfeeding often, not thinking about how much milk they're getting, but basically you're putting your order in. The baby's putting their order in for milk. So the more you breastfeed, the better chance of having this good, strong supply of milk. So those first 3 days, you're putting the order in. And in the next 2 weeks, you'll be determining the quantity. But in the beginning, you want to just breastfeed frequently. And basically, if you think frequently, and you think about breastfeeding as often as possible and a lot, then the quantity actually will improve with the frequency. So basically the way to increase milk supply is to frequently feed. So when you think frequent instead of quantity, how much milk is in my breast? Because we can't see, we worry. But if we think about it as if I'm breastfeeding a lot, then they're more likely to get the milk that they need, and I don't have to worry about the quantity. Now, that doesn't mean that it's normal for baby necessarily to feed every 30 minutes, but what I would say is in those first 3 days, whenever the baby is awake, especially that first 24 hours, whenever the baby's awake, you would want to practice feeding. So that first 24 hours they're going to sleep a lot, but every time if you do a lot of skin to skin, every time they're awake, you can practice. You're practicing a lot. And then on day 2, they tend to wake up and be very fussy and want to feed a lot, want to be held constantly. This is the opportunity for you to frequently feed. This is when the more they breastfeed, the better. So just kind of expect that. And especially the first month, you will find that if you think about frequency instead of quantity, that quantity will actually be at a good level. You won't have to worry about that if you're breastfeeding often. Instead of watching the clock, you watch your baby. You get to learn your baby. When are they hungry? Offering the breast every time they seem upset is the best way you're going to learn, okay, they're not hungry, it's a diaper. But see, at first, it's a new baby, so you don't really know. So it's best to offer the breast at first, every time, and then eventually you'll figure out, okay, are they hungry? Are they tired? Do they have gas? Does their diaper need to be changed? Are they cold? Are they hot? Is there too much stimulation? You'll learn all of that. But in the beginning, just breastfeeding every time they cry is good. It's actually going to be great for you, your milk supply, and for your baby. The next, number 2, is the first 2 weeks are crucial, and don't expect a lot of sleep, especially in that first 6 to 8 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have a great sleeper. Some babies are great sleepers and some aren't. And I think this is the point I want to make, is because your baby is not a good sleeper. If your baby is not a good sleeper, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or your baby. It doesn't mean that the baby's not getting enough milk. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the baby. It just could be that your baby wakes more often, feeds more often, for whatever reason. Every baby is different. Some babies maybe have a larger capacity to hold the milk in their stomach longer. Maybe they're older or they're younger. Whatever the case, don't stress over whether they're a good sleeper or they're a bad sleeper. When you get to about 6 to 8 weeks, they should be starting a schedule, their own, not yours, but their own schedule. Now, we like to put our babies on a schedule, and I would say in that first 4 to 6 weeks, even up to 2 months, I wouldn't try to schedule them. I would just feed them when they need to. It's going to vary day to day. Again, some babies are different, and they'll schedule themselves right away. They'll be good sleepers. They'll be this, they'll be that. But that doesn't mean if your baby isn't that way that there's something wrong with your baby. It doesn't mean if your baby is a great sleeper that there's something wrong. It just means that they're different, and every experience is different. And what you have to expect in your mind is that first year, you're going to lose a lot of sleep. There are going to be many times where you are not going to get a good sleep. Because just when they start sleeping through the night, they'll start teething. And then when they start teething, they want to wake up, and they're up, and then there's sometimes no reason whatsoever. They just are up more. And so I want to put that in you, that thought in you, is to not gauge how well your baby is doing breastfeeding, or anything based on how well they sleep. Because it is very normal for a baby to sleep often. It's also very normal for a baby to wake often. So think of it like this. Every time your baby's awake, their brain is growing. And if they're sleeping, they're not being stimulated. The brain is not being stimulated. Now, that doesn't mean that when they're sleeping, they're not growing. But just think in your mind that when they're awake, their brain is being stimulated and they're learning. And so this is a good thing. It's what they need. Breast milk doesn't stay in the system for very long because it's very easily digested, and most of what they get is absorbed into the body. There's not a ton left. Now, it may seem like a lot when they have their explosions up out of the diaper, but a lot of what they have is used up within an hour and a half, and you will see that they most likely will have a stool every single time they feed, because it's moving out the old to make room for the new. So it's normal for them to have very frequent stools. And if the stools are not a mustardy color, then you could start to say, okay, is there something more going on? Like, could I have an oversupply? Could I have an overactive letdown? These are all things that I talk about in other videos that you can also look up. And if you are experiencing some of these things, you can feel free to comment below to let me know, and I'll try to answer any questions that you have. But if the stools are not a mustard color and a mustardy consistency, if they're they can be kind of runny. That's not diarrhea for a newborn. But if they're green or they're mucousy, this could be a sign of an allergy. It could be, like I said, it could be a sign of overactive letdown or oversupply. And there's things that you can do for that. So just thinking of it like that. It is normal for them to have frequent stools. And I don't know why I lost my train of thought, but so it's very normal. And so just kind of knowing that your baby's going to go through a lot of different changes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. It's actually very normal for them to wake often, for them to sleep long periods of time, for them to cluster feed, for them to if they do schedule themselves early, that's normal as well. But say that they have a very good schedule, they're doing great, and then all of a sudden it's off. They're crying more, they're up a lot. The first thought you're going to have is something is wrong with my milk. They're not getting enough. There's something wrong. And in a lot of cases, that's not true. Like a lot of times it's just your baby's growing and changing, and their sleep patterns and their schedules are going to change a lot in the first year. So I just want you to expect that. That's basically the important thing I want to make of that second tip, is that don't expect a lot. Don't make any specific rule for yourself. Like this is the way things should be, because every baby is different. Every mom and baby are different. And I just want moms to know that there is a normal newborn habits. And a lot of times it's just learning what your newborn's habits mean. And by spending a lot of time skin to skin and holding your baby, you kind of learn what those are. So hopefully you can kind of think of that. And then the other part of that is just remembering that those first 2 weeks are the most crucial to breastfeeding. So again, thinking frequent instead of quantity. The more frequent you are, the more they're going to get anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. Basically, the way we like to think of it is instead of watching the clock, just count how many times they feed. You want at least 8 feeds in 24 hours. So think of it like that. They can go up to 12 feeds in 24 hours. It could be even more than that. So just knowing that you need at least 8 and counting your feeds instead of counting time. The third thing I want to mention is having a breastfeeding support person. Now, none of this is any specific order. This is just as I thought of them and I wanted to, mention them. So they're not in any specific order. So having a breastfeeding support person is probably good to think about even while you're still pregnant. But when you're in the hospital, talk to a lactation consultant. Find out what is in your area. You can look up certified lactation counselors in your area, which is a CLC in your area. Look up for IBCLCs in your area. Look up La Leche League, and they usually will have meetings in your area. If you live in an area where it's more isolated and you don't have that available to you, there are groups on Facebook. Find something online then. And of course, you could always come to my videos, make comments, and talk with other moms as well as myself. So that is number 3. Number 4 is to watch the output of your diapers. So watching diaper output. This is just your way of knowing if the baby's getting enough, because again, we can't see how much they're getting. So what you're looking for is by the time your baby's a week old, you're looking for about 6 diapers in 24 hours. 2 to 3 of those can be stool. All of them could be stool, but about 2 to 3 should be stool of those 6. And it could be even more than 6. And a lot of times you'll be like, okay, what you'll say to yourself, if you feel like you don't have enough milk, you want to pull out 6 diapers. You want to look at the clock and watch your diapers for 24 hours. If you go through all 6 plus some, you're good. But if it's only like 2 diapers, then you would know something is wrong and you would want to reach out for help. It doesn't mean that you need to introduce a bottle, because we don't know yet what the problem could be. But you would definitely want to get help, because you might need to start supplementing. And so it's important as soon as you see that to to find help. And that's why it's important to have a breastfeeding support person, because if you do run into any complications or any challenges, you have somebody to reach out to. Support groups, again, are really great. You can go online and find those a lot of times on Facebook. Instagram, you can find IBCLCs on there. So just looking for that and finding people that you can talk to and ask questions. And the last thing I wanted to say, so tip number 5 is to expect tough days. And it sounds negative when I say expect tough days, but I feel like if you don't say that, then when moms have those really bad days, they feel like there's something wrong with them. They feel like they should stop. This just isn't working for them. And in some cases, that might be true for you, but I want you to know that it is normal to have bad days. It is normal to have tough days. It's normal for your baby to just cry all day sometimes. It could be illness. It could be they're growing. It could be a growth spurt. They're wanting to increase your milk, so they might want to breastfeed more often. So there could be a lot of different reasons, but expecting that there will be tough days and bad days, when they come, they're easier to take. They're easier to deal with because you know it's normal. You know this is normal. It doesn't mean that you're going to need support on those tough days. You're going to need a good night's sleep sometimes. Sometimes it might be that you got to put everything aside and rest. Easier said than done. That I understand. But sometimes that's all it takes, is just that extra rest that you can get. If you find yourself at your wit's end, I always tell a mom, handle it like this. If you have that tough day and you're like, I just want to quit. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore because I don't want the stress for me or the baby. Tell yourself, okay, so say that you say that and it's a Monday or a Tuesday. Say, okay, I'm going to breastfeed till Friday and see how things go. On Friday, if they're not better, say, okay, let's try till Monday. If things don't get better, a lot of times it's that day. And if they're by Friday, you're like, okay, let's try a little bit longer. So when you have a tough day, think of it like that. Just tell yourself, you know what? I'm just going to breastfeed for another week and I'm going to see how things go. When you know that you have a choice and that that it could get better. And if it doesn't, then you can instead of having guilt, like, oh my gosh, it's not good. And now I'm going to be a bad mom. Don't think of it like that. Say, you know what? I'll just hold off for a little bit. I'll wait a week. I'm going to keep trying, but then I'm done if things don't pan out. So in that time frame, in that week, talk with other breastfeeding moms, talk with your support person, talk with the IBCLC, a CLC, a breastfeeding peer counselor at WIC. Talk with somebody about your concerns, about your challenges, about what's going on, to see if there's some things that you can try. Do some research. Check out my videos. Anything that can help you get through that week to that Friday. And then you'll find a lot of times that once you get to that day that you set out for yourself, you'll find that you'll go right past that day and you're fine. And every time you have that bad day, doing that, you'll find that it's just a bad day. It could be a bad 2 days. It could be a bad week. But you'll find that it does pass. And if it doesn't, then something needs to be addressed. And, we go from there. So that's it for today's video. Please, if you do have any concerns or questions and you have no support person, leave a comment below. Let me know. I can do some research for you as well to see if there's anything in your area. You can check your hospitals. You can check doctor's offices, pediatricians, that kind of thing, to find out if there's an IBCLC anywhere or if there's any lactation support anywhere. So if you need help in finding that, please feel free to leave a comment below and I can do what I can to help you. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.